you know the rivers you want to cross, the mountains you want to climb, and the swamps you need to get out of. And all our life, we've still got those.
Yeah.
And once I know your swamp, your river, or your mountain, then I can start to work out how we can help each other. So I think the whole role of schools going forward has got to be to create children with confidence who can look people in the eye and say, I can get things done. We've got to give people relevance as well. And I think relevance is using the power of their personality, the wealth of their life experience, and the status that they feel that they can contribute. And that has been with us since time began.
Hi, I'm Chris Shrubsole, and welcome to School Talk, the podcast where we have meaningful conversations about education, learning, and those issues that matter most to students, to parents, and to teachers. With over 10 years' experience in international schools, I've seen firsthand the challenges, but also the opportunities in learning today. Each week, I'll sit down with inspiring guests to share stories, insights, and strategies on how we can help shape the future of education. Whether you're here to grow, to learn, or to spark change, this is the place for you. So let's get started. Hi, welcome back to School Talk. This week on the episode, I have got Anthony Willoughby from Dupoto. So first of all, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much indeed.
And today we're going to be talking about the concept of territory mapping. So kick us off, territory mapping. What is it to you and where did it originate from?
Territory mapping, I mean, it sounds fairly confrontational, I suppose. What is your territory?
Yeah.
But it evolved, first of all, I was on a camel safari in northern Kenya back 41 years ago, and I saw the Maasai. And what I saw is they had absolute sort of substance without arrogance and complete presence. I thought, why don't I have presence? Why am I sort of got to dangle a bit of paper saying who I am, or a trinket and a watch? And I became sort of fascinated. What is it they've got? And I then went off to Papua New Guinea to try to understand what we've lost, met the ambassador. And when I got back to Tokyo, I said to the ambassador, what is the single most important thing in your life? And he said, it is my territory. And he drew a map of what that actually looked like on a napkin. And he said, therefore, I know my duty and I know what I'm protecting. So what I became fascinated was it made me think for the first 99.9% of human existence, our identity has come from knowing what we're protecting, where our food is and how do we work together. So really, when he said, it's my territory, I thought, what is mine? And from there, 41 years ago, I've been working on the concept that first of all, everybody needs to know what are they protecting, and therefore what is the relevance they're hunting, and what are they growing. And I've discovered inside everybody is that ability to draw a map showing that territory and their horizons and their boundaries.
And that territory mapping, that would link to all walks of life, not specific to one person or one community.
No, it started off by asking people in Papua New Guinea, then in Kenya and elsewhere, to draw maps of their territory. And I saw absolute clarity. Over the last 25 years, I've asked billionaires in America and family businesses. I've asked, the homeless people, more recently with orphans in Japan. We've done it with the Gates Foundation, executives, school children. Everybody can, in theory, get some clarity once you ask them, so what is your territory?
Yeah.
What is it you're hunting? What are you protecting? What are you growing? And who sits around your fire? And it just seems to tap into something primal, universal.
What would be some examples of a school child compared to a business owner in terms of territory, would you say?
Well, you can't really tell the difference of the maps.
Yeah.
I would say the younger the school children, I mean, did it with 1,000 children at North Anglia.
Yeah.
They've just got these idea of these rivers of courage that they want to cross. They've got to overcome the fears. They've got to grow the skills. They've got to hunt to be a good person. And it's really very, very different. Or frankly, though they're different people, the maps are very similar. You know the rivers you want to cross. The mountains you want to climb, and the swamps you need to get out of. And all our life, we've still got those.
Yeah.
And once I know your swamp, your river, or your mountain, then I can start to work out how we can help each other.
Whichever walk of life you're coming from, you're doing this territory mapping. And then you said the next part there is helping people. So how does one lead to the next?
Well, first of all, I do a story about how these ideas have evolved from Papua New Guinea and talk about this is absolutely universal. That is what between us and our food. And then I give people a blank sheet of paper. And I just say, so what is it? How can you draw out a map of what are you actually hunting, protecting, and growing? Where are you on that map? What are your hopes and your fears? And then people start to draw the map. Once they've finished drawing the map, then they can talk to other people about, so these are my hopes, these are my goals, these are my fears. And then they can start to create a plan of what it is they're actually going to want to do. I mean, the name Dupoto, which is the company that we've founded here, means wealth in Maasai. And we do a lot with the Maasai who have inspired many of my ideas. So what we actually do is we get people to think about what is your wealth? Because most people think it's the amount of money in the bank. But actually it's your family, it's your home, it's your affection, it's your friendships. And that is really how do we reimagine what people's wealth is and what do they need to grow? So what we're now going to be offering school children at the beginning of each term and students and teachers is to think about what it is they want to grow, the rivers they want to cross. So it creates a totally different way for them to think about school opposed to just the academics.
Yeah. So you mentioned that Dupoto has started and importance the academics within schools.
Yep.
But the importance also to shift away, not just to focus on that.
Well, I think the academics, I mean, yeah, obviously those are very important, but I think really when you think of AI and ChatGPT and everything coming along, what is knowledge?
Yeah.
And therefore, what is the role of school? And I think it's got to be to give every child that sense of confidence, relevance, identity, that they've got power of their personality. So I think the whole role of schools going forward has got to be to create children with confidence who can look people in the eye and say, I can get things done.
But I think as well, even with, like you say there, the influx of technology, the ability for kids to look people in the eye and to shake their hand and to have those conversations with people that they haven't met before or wouldn't normally come in contact with, in my opinion, is slowly decreasing. So I definitely think, that shift is really important.
I really think so. I mean, I stress that I've got nothing to do with educating. Not an educator. When I was 18, my housemaster took me aside and he said, Anthony, let's get one thing absolutely clear. You are far, far, far too stupid to go to university. And I remember that moment of sort of elation that I was now free to develop myself and the world. But I think you're right. I think going forward is, what is the role of an education? What is an educated person? And I think it's got to have someone who knows themselves with the character. I mean, any 3-year-old Maasai, they know what they're protecting. They're protecting their cattle. So what do they have to grow? The skills to be able to defend them. But most importantly, they need to earn the respect of others by how they live their life and how they behave.
Yeah.
And I think the future of education is really to work with every student to give them that sense of belief. And this is what we found from the maps, and you'll be seeing on the maps, that they can really see how they can grow that sense of confidence and self-belief.
So talk to me a bit about you saying there that some kids know what they're protecting, what they're growing, what they're hunting. But from a kid doing this at Nord Anglia, like you said, what was their thought process? What would a child in a classroom setting be protecting or growing or hunting?
There's a lovely list. We sort of put a list of what it is they're hunting, protecting and growing. And a lot of them, they've got to grow the skills. They've got to grow the friendships. They've got to grow the communities. They've got to protect their family. They've got to protect their values, their culture and their identity.
Yeah.
And then what they've got to hunt is the respect from other people. Because yes, we've got to hunt the exams, but actually it's growing the skills from those exams that's going to give one a sense of courage and confidence to move forward.
Because it's so strange, because you grow up through your academic childhood, it's your year 6 SATs, and then it's your GCSEs, then it's your A-levels, and then you have to do it. So you're just told to do this next thing. And all of a sudden someone looked to me, they don't know how many qualifications I've got. Doesn't kind of shifts away from how important it is, but you spend your whole life thinking it's the most important thing.
And it's individual focus as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's, I think, the whole problem with academics is it just sort of poisons the mind, that it just focuses on getting your exams.
Yeah.
Not how are you contributing as a human? How are you building trust in others? How are you bringing hope and belief?
Yeah.
And as you know, leadership is simply about empowering others.
Yeah.
So how can we get the students to feel they have that power? They can work together. And that's where I think involving AI in the really, really positive way of looking at what it is that you can grow. Because what I believe is at the moment we are at the intersection of AI, humanness, and neuroscience. Because that is what it is. We're tapping into our original roots by what are we hunting, protecting, and growing. And then at the same time, we're looking at what does that mean in the AI? What are those icons? And that's in theory how our brain can develop more, by connecting it to different parts, by getting people to think.
Yeah. I think that connection part is key, because in the current world of education, there's no way we can do anything to shy away from those exams. I think those things have been so set in stone, it will take so much to change them. The influx of AI, you can't ignore it. But I think using all that in unison, using it all together, utilizing the positive parts of all of it to try and improve is important. But then I still really believe that the human interaction side of it is the most important side.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's going to get more and more and more important.
Yeah.
Because, even until now, people have got 10 or 15 jobs they've got to have in their careers, not because they've done a bad job, but because the company's been taken over, technology's come in, and they've changed. So the only thing we can live on, I believe now, is our ability to feel comfortable with ourselves, but being able to adapt. And that's why, part of the nomadic school of business, which is what I originally called the business, because I think we need that nomadic mindset. We need that mindset that we are adaptable, that we have clarity, we have courage, and we are worthy of other people's respect.
Yeah. There was a guest on the podcast the other day, and she said that certain companies now are using AI to do the first round of interviews. And it blew my mind that anything you would get from human interaction, if you brought humor to it, if you were nervous, if you were, that person would get on really well with my team, all of that's eliminated in that process. And I get it from the perspective of some companies get thousands of people applying to jobs. So it's a good way to kind of whittle people out. But then it literally just looks on years experience, previous jobs, qualifications, and it doesn't take into account anything human.
And how you've contributed.
Yeah.
It just does not do that. And what we've started doing in certain places is actually to use the maps for students to start thinking about what is their life. So when they can actually use it as adapting or thinking and having conversations with the interviewer. Because this is the rivers I cross. I got out of those swamps. These are the mountains I've climbed in my life.
Yeah.
So they can talk about who they are, what they believe in, what they're passionate about, and where they've struggled.
Yeah.
And that's what I think has been completely eliminated from education. Because as you say, you're simply judged on a bit of paper and if you've got a good memory.
Yeah. Like you said, that knowledge is there right at fingertips in front of us.
Everybody has the same amount of knowledge, which is basically all the world has ever had.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can now do is to have the courage to ask the right questions of yourself, of other people, and look people in the eyes. We're saying that human connection has never been more important.
Agreed. Yeah. Spoke about it from a kind of a child in a school perspective, but this is also really relevant to leadership within schools.
Yep.
Senior leaders, middle leaders, school owners.
Yep.
How do the two differ, would you say?
I can show you maps. We've done it with a school in Birmingham, in Charlotte, with a senior executive team. And they actually then drew their maps, and we then combined them and put that into AI. And they then said, that's a great strategy for what we're going to do. Took that to the
Oh, really? Yeah.
And then literally we've done it with all the students.
Yeah.
And I can show you the maps. You cannot tell the difference. Obviously, the conversations are slightly different. But what it shows, and when we did this session for 250 kids in year 9 about, what are their careers going to be? What do they want to achieve in their life? And that was led by the head teacher.
Yeah.
Saying, look, this is my life. We've all got our challenges in life. So how do we start to talk about what are the best ways of overcoming them?
And in terms of this is a practical activity, when school leaders do it, would they do it individually and then compare with each other? Would they do it as a group and then?
We do it individually first of all, and then they can start to compare their maps with each other and start to look at it and move forward.
Yeah.
But the Dupoto is ready. It's brand new. And what we're now doing is having it so it's a curriculum of maybe 10 or 12 1 or 2 hour sessions. So there's the students going to think about, so what are the rivers in their life they need to cross, and what have they crossed? The mountains they need to climb, the swamps, and who sits around their fire. Because each of these are fundamental questions. I mean, when is anybody, when you were at school or when I was at school, going, what is it you really, really want to become? What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be respected for in your life?
There's a conversation if you go and see the careers advisor. It was like, okay, I want to be a vet. Okay, you need X, Y, and Z qualifications, and you need this experience. But if there wasn't that remembered by, I saw a thing the other day. It said, if you've got a job where you can take your kids to school, pick them up from school, and go to their sports days, that's success.
Correct. I couldn't agree with you more.
It's not, okay, I'm earning 100K a year and I've got a company car. But that's kind of what you're ingrained to believe in school.
That is what everybody's been educated for.
Yeah.
And that is why I think it is such a sort of a poison, because if you actually think in communities for most of the world, they are community based. How you live your life is respected. How you make your parents, your grandparents, and your grandchildren proud of how you live your life. That is what it has been. But all of this modern way of focusing on the only way of judgment is memory.
Yeah.
It is so counterintuitive to us as a human. It's disrespectful for us as a human, just measuring one small part of memory.
Dupoto is going to go, the aim is to go into schools to do territory mapping with all stakeholders in schools, parents, teachers, students. And then the next step on from that would be then you would come in again and lead more sessions with it.
Correct. And do action plans. And then they can start signing off here's the map drawn by the student at the beginning of the term. This is what I want to achieve. These are the rivers of confidence I want to grow. These are the fires of friendship I need to bring people around. Yeah. And then you can sign that off. And at the end of the term, you can sit down with the teacher and the parent and the student and say, have you achieved those goals? And then obviously, have you crossed that river of getting your exams? Have you passed the academics? Because unfortunately, as you say, we have to still have the academics.
Yeah, we can't shy away from that.
We can't, but let's give so much more.
Yeah.
And let's recognize so many other things.
Yeah. And then impact-wise, what are you hoping to achieve, long-term impact with this?
Well, hopefully what we want to do, and I've done it with thousands of people in corporates more than anything else, but to give every child a map of hope and belief that they've got the self-respect to have an interesting life.
Yeah.
Because I know what it's like being at school, being the most unpopular boy at school, really struggling and being told I was an idiot and God knows what else. I know what it's like. And I always thought there's more to me than that.
Yeah.
And I think anybody in life who's done anything will tell you why they're a failure. Incidentally, do you know why Wetherspoons is called Wetherspoons, the bars in England?
Yeah. No, I don't.
All right. Because the chap who founded it, his teacher in New Zealand called Wetherspoon, said you are never going to amount to anything in your life. So that's why he named it Wetherspoons.
Oh, there we go.
And I think this is it. Everybody who's got a story, who's got a life, has fundamentally, potentially not done well with their academics.
Yeah.
Because they've got so much more to life.
The thing that gets me about education, and don't get me wrong, my kids go to school here, I've worked here, and there are so many great things about education here.
Yeah.
One of the things that every school's got a mission statement and say we're going to do everything we can for every student in our school. And I'm like, that's just a lie. Because there's definitely kids in our school that you're not supporting 100%. And I guess obviously you can't have in your mission statement, okay, we're going to support 80% of kids. you need to be saying that. But I think the ones that aren't academic, what are we doing? Arguably, we should be doing more for those kids to try and support them. But I think that needs to be the shift there. But I think teachers listening to this will think, where is this time coming from? Where am I going to get time to do this one more thing that's been put on my plate?
Yep. And I couldn't agree with you more. First of all, when we do it with teachers or we do it at school, this is part of the CPD for the teachers. So they're actually thinking about their own lives.
Yeah.
Because a lot of teachers, they sort of start teaching with this vision. They suddenly find themselves 10, 20 years later still teaching and running the same thing. So you sort of think, how can they have a life that gives them satisfaction? Because all the pressure is on is, do you get the kids' exam?
Yeah.
So yes, what we're looking at here is it fits into moral education.
Nice.
Because we use the icons of, mammoths and rivers and things here.
Yeah.
Whereas what we want to use here is the oasis, the palm trees, the falcon, the camels, the ocean, the desert. And so we can start to look at the incredible richness of the culture here. But everybody can then talk about it. They can then talk about their own cultures that bring them here. What are those icons that show respect, that show identity, and that show that you're a valuable contributing member of your community?
Yeah, I think that linking it to moral education is like fantastic, because having taught that before, there was a syllabus created by the KHDA.
Yeah.
Not the best. Could have been improved.
Yeah.
But this way, it does really combine all the international cultures that you would have in a classroom here, be able to discuss them, compare them, things like that. And even the conversation that would come from that would be fantastic.
Yeah, and you think here, you've got 5,000 years of history, of respect, of living in harsh environments, adapting. And I think, as you were talking earlier, we're going to go to a really, really tough environment with AI taking away jobs. Lawyers, bankers, and accountants, how much longer are we going to need them? I mean, who would start becoming a young lawyer today what are they going to be doing?
Yeah.
And I think to have that that nomadic mindset to adapt in your own life with courage, purpose, and identity is really, really going to be important for people. And that's what we want to start having those conversations.
I played golf yesterday with a guy who is a builder, and he was saying that he used ChatGPT for the first time and it kind of blew him away. He was scared by it. And I said to him as well, 15 years time, there could be jobs that are made redundant because of AI. But you as a builder are arguably going to be even more important in the next 15 years. Because you can't get a robot that's going to fit a bathroom or build a house or go from there. So knowing those things and stuff as well, for me, is important.
Well, I couldn't agree more. That's why it's got to reimagine what is wealth.
Yeah.
I mean, what can I do with my hands? Here's a cow, kill it, butcher it. I mean, I haven't got a clue where to start. We're sort of educated to complete uselessness.
And even the educational side of it, you're not trained in anything specifics. So we were saying, Elfin was on the podcast before, and he said the only profession where you do specific subjects, where you just do English or just do maths, is if you become a teacher.
Yep.
So if you go full cycle, there's no other walk in life where you'd be like, okay, today I'm just using maths. You have to combine it with everything else. So I think, it's a big one.
Well, what we're looking at now is really bringing in the latest neuroscience. And I've been in contact with a fellow who won the Nobel Prize for medicine for discovering there's a GPS in our brain.
Yeah.
And what we're really looking at is surely in education should be about connecting all the different parts of the brain. So you have music does this, maths does this, French, languages do that.
Yeah.
So that actually a student can see why they're learning maths, why they're doing music, what is it?
Like that you're saying there, the purpose behind things is really important as well, because I think it does lend itself to different curriculum. Like I worked in an IB school, and the purpose behind why kids were doing stuff was always quite evident, because it was linked to a central idea.
Yep.
So everything I'm doing, it links to how the world works. So you can see behind it. But often when you have a standalone subject, if you're just doing fractions, there's only so many ways you can cut a pizza up. Like when you're applying it like that.
Gotta be a why. I mean, it's so miserable. Some teachers, you've got to learn it. Why?
Even the teacher's like, well,
why?
I've just been told this is the curriculum I need to teach. Yeah.
And what is an education? What is an educated person? What are those skills that someone is going to need to leave school with?
Well, even that there, an educated person, if you meet them walking down the street or they're not going to, like you say, hand in your CV. And this is my proof I'm educated. It is about the conversation.
Simply about the conversation. I mean, when my father, I've got 3 children who are now in their 30s. But when I said to my father, how should I educate my children? He simply said, make sure they play sports at which they can get seriously hurt.
Okay.
And, they've all been doing all sorts of things. I've been sleeping in mud huts with me from the age of 8.
Yeah.
But I just think we have to stop this whole idea that failure, fear, and this is actually, we've got to have it.
Yeah.
Our brains need it.
Failing at something, hurting yourself, being not in danger, but being in trouble and things like that are only things that are going to help you grow especially as a young person. In terms of like brain development and those social interactions and all of that. I think, we can't shy away from any of that.
But let's tell them their brain can be developed. Their brain is extraordinary. I want to give every child a brain when they get to 8 to hold it and feel that everything's going to happen in their brain and they need a strong heart.
Yeah. Do you think you're doing this a lot with, obviously, school children, teachers within schools? Arguably, is it not more important for parents to be doing this?
Yes. And we've started doing that in Wales and elsewhere. And it has been very, very, very successful when parents talk to their children about what it means to have a purposeful life.
Yeah.
That's what I really, really want to do. Yes. And also for spouses, to work with.
I don't know. It's a tricky one as a parent. But you don't talk to them about big fears they've got, do they? Those underarching ones. So I think both having that conversation, sitting down together, like say spouses doing it as well, is probably a very good thing as well.
Imagine sitting down with your kids, here's a map, right? So if they've done it at the beginning of the term, I need to cross this river of confidence. I need to climb this mountain.
Yeah.
Dinner, hey, how did you do? What happened? Oh, you fell in the river today. How big were the crocodiles? There is no context for talking to our children.
But like you said there, just even them understanding, oh shit, today I was really nervous.
Yep.
And that I've mapped that out earlier.
Yep.
Okay, then how did I feel when I was nervous? Oh, wait, it wasn't that bad.
Yep.
Let's try it again.
Yeah.
So even giving them the visual tool sometimes is really important for them to be able to do that.
And that's what we hope it really is. And I mean, this is coming from within people. It's not as if I'm telling anybody anything.
No.
I mean, I've just been incredibly fortunate. I mean, from what I've been able to spend time with indigenous communities, I've been taking a lot of executives to spend time with them. And you just see this wonderful penny drop of, my God, they've got confidence, they've got identity. And therefore, that is their education system because it is their values system.
One value to instill in everybody, what would it be?
Curiosity. It's got to be. I mean, I think, it's this wonderful uncertainty of life. I mean, I'm 75 this year. And I have failed 10,000 times at so many things I've done.
Yeah.
In 1988, I wrote, I will set up an organization that will unlock trust and willpower. And that is what I'm still trying to do. The only word I would now say is we've got to give people relevance as well. And I think relevance is using the power of their personality, the wealth of their life experience, and the status that they feel that they can contribute. And that has been with us since time began.
Yeah.
But I think it is curious to explore one's potential. That is what I think it is. Curious how we can contribute. Curious how things work.
Yeah.
And if we're not curious going forward, we really are finished. Because I don't know how often you ask ChatGPT things, but I just asked today, how is it what I'm doing in line with the Emirati values and the vision here?
Yeah.
And he just came up with this incredibly logical way of thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, knowledge is gone. So it's how does one apply wisdom?
Yeah.
Because as the Maasai say, knowledge is not wisdom. And I think what we now need is the courage to believe in wisdom, believe in our hearts, so we can affect change and inspire people.
Yeah. I think that there, the courage, the curiosity and the inspiration will come from those people that predominantly young people are surrounded by. There's that one teacher in school that you remember, not because of how he marked your book or the work he gave you, for the ideas that they sparked or the kind of motivation they gave you to find out more.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more.
So it's probably not, doesn't even have to be a teacher, does it?
Yeah.
It can be anyone you're
I think this is what is the role of a teacher going forward.
Yeah.
And I think the role of a teacher going forward is a facilitator with the life experience to be able to engender confidence that they know who they are.
Yeah.
So I think the role of teacher, the training of teachers is going to change because there's no longer knowledge. It's no longer handing out knowledge. It's unleashing the hidden potential that we all have, that in indigenous communities is naturally brought out through the culture.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it's never really there because you're never told that courage is a value.
No.
You're simply told, get a bit of paper that defines your memory.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I said there, I completely agree. I think the role of the teacher will change. I feel like having taught for the last decade or so, that it slowly started to shift in terms of you get value. Schools have values that you kind of try and link and underpin in a lesson, but it's still not a complete shift. I'd say it's going in the right way, but it's still very academic. Grades, it's about KHD ratings here are going to take precedent over anything.
But it all perpetrates from the head.
Yes.
It really, really, really does.
Yeah.
And we're working with the head of an amazing autistic school in Norwich.
Yeah.
And they passionately believe in the potential of every one of their students. And so they're not looking at academics. They're using the maps to actually bring out. So what does success mean? What does hope? What does belief mean?
Yeah.
On the idea that if a child is confident and feels relevant, the academics will naturally follow.
Yeah.
You know, that's a sort of natural part of life.
I've said this probably every podcast. It all comes down to relationships as well. If you and the student have a good relationship and you know where they're strong, what their strengths are, and you know what makes them nervous or they're not confident about, having that knowledge means that they're more willing to learn because you're making them feel more comfortable.
Yep. And me obviously saying the answer to everything is a map.
Yeah.
But when you've sat down with a student and you've looked at the rivers and what are they trying to do and where are their fears and hopes and beliefs,
you know that. Yeah.
You know them. You'll never forget it.
How often should you update your own map?
I don't know. I had one that I did quite a few years ago and stuck pretty to it. I sort of know the routes I need to do. I need to turn some goat tracks into sort of motorways, which is in education and the other things which we're now doing. Some people do it very regularly, sort of every few months. Other people do it almost on a daily basis of looking at what they need to change and how it moves forward.
Yeah. We'll put some examples of maps on the show notes and on the YouTube episode as well, so you kind of see what we're talking about as well. Yeah.
We'll also show you the icons because we want to be completely transparent about this. There's no magic to it. It's not as if I'm going to secret questions.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll put all of this on the show notes. You'll be able to see it all as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dupoto in the next 10 years, let's say, the goal at the moment to keep driving and growing as you are, or is there anything else on the horizon?
Well, my vision is to put a map of ambition in everyone's hand. I mean, it really is clarity and ambition. So it'll become a natural part of school children and students' way of learning the life skills because we work with global corporations about it. And as you said, as CVs become meaningless AI-generated gibberish, and organization strategies are equally the same. I believe we've got to get back to a human context of what are we actually trying to achieve in our life. And until we have the context of a river, a mountain, and a swamp, and what we're actually hunting, protecting, and growing, and who we want around our fire, the conversations really can't have context.
Yeah.
Because if you want to climb this mountain right in your life, so what are the skills you need? What are the ambitions you need? Who will help you do it, right? Or if you're stuck in a swamp at the moment, how did you get out of the last one? What are the fears that hold you back? Then you can start to have a conversation about someone saying, I'm feeling the anxiety today. Why? Where?
Yeah, anxiety is a whole different podcast on its own, isn't it? I think there is the CVs you touched on, the AI generated CV that is then read by AI.
The job is created by AI. And
it's just going full circle, robots talking to robots.
Correct.
Yeah. If a teacher or a school leader or a parent wanted to start this mapping now, what's the one simple thing they can do today to start the process?
Well, really is to go to the Dupoto website, which we can put up, and really get in contact with Elfin, because Elfin has got his background as an educator, is highly successful. I can talk to people about it, but I can't talk about it from an educational perspective. So I would adore for anybody to get in contact with me, and I'll bend their ear with my enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Whether that's for personal growth or for corporates or just coming with me to Mongolia or Africa. That I would love to do. So it's really just, I've been doing it for many years, but I just love talking to people about this.
Yeah.
And trying to look at things differently. I think that's what we want to do. So it's Dupoto, if it's anything to do with the Middle East here, but also we're working with schools in the UK through Elfin as well, where he used to do that. So please, either Elfin or just get in contact with me.
Yeah. I mean, your passion for it shines through.
Thank you.
Like you can tell from when we spoke a few weeks ago to today to all of it shines through. And I think it's so important. And I think for me, the personal, like the way that you're linking it to UAE values, linking it to moral education, means that it's giving context to kids here in terms of the culture they're moving to from abroad, their own culture, and having that understanding of, as you've said, like countless times today, what they're trying to achieve in life. And that gumption that they need.
I love the word gumption. We're going to have gumption cards with part of our program. So where do you need to be bold? Where do you need to be readiness? Where do you need to pivot? Where do you need to really make things happen with courage? And I think that is really, really the future. It is gumption.
Yeah. That's a good word.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, good way to end. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much indeed.
Very good.
It's been a pleasure and an honor, and looking forward to many more conversations and involving it, because you're an educator. You can see where this has got applications. We want to partner with people. We're not saying we have the answer. We haven't. The more people there who can talk about it, who can think about it, that's really what we want to do.
Perfect. Yeah. And like Anthony said before, if you want to get in contact, I'll put the Dupoto information on the show notes, Elfin's information on the show notes. Well, like I said, I'll reach out to you. So fantastic conversation, territory mapping. I think it's a fantastic idea, an idea that will change how people think about themselves.
Well, they'll like themselves more. They'll appreciate themselves more. They'll see they've crossed those rivers. They've got out of those swamps. They've been through the mountains.
Yeah.
So therefore, they're already courageous.
Yeah.
They're already a leader. Give them that self-belief.
Yeah. I think that's it. Self-belief is so important. Yeah.
And the failure is fun.
Yeah. And even that, knowing that you can fail and it's okay to fail.
It's completely
Just
okay.
go from there. Yeah. Yeah. No one's perfect. So go from there, far from it.
If you kept succeeding,
exactly.
You're obviously not very ambitious.
Yeah. This has been School Talk. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Really interesting conversation. And again, if you find it useful, share it with someone and we'll continue to grow. My name is Chris Robsole. Bye for now.